Right after the fourth plenum wrapped up, Beijing's power landscape began to loosen and reshuffle. On one side, Central Office Director Kai Chi has gone missing from events where he should never be absent. On the other, Public Security Minister Wang Xiaohong is in a situation where the person is still there, but the power is gone, with his influence being sliced away bit by bit. From the National Games in Guangzhou to Xi'an, and then to the personnel reshuffles in Beijing Public Security and the Ministry of Public Security, the military, the political, legal system, and the elder faction seem to be tightening a net together, pressing Xi Jinping's last penholder and knife handle into a black box at the same time. This is not just a story about a few individuals' fates. It is the prelude to a new round of power purges in Zhongnanhai after the fourth plenum. Don't miss the next drop, subscribe and hit the bell. Kai Chi's mysterious disappearance for 8 days. Zhang Youxia's trip to Guangzhou was about more than just posing for photos with Xi. Guangzhou in November should have been the time when the political schedule is most packed and least tolerant of mistakes, the National Games opening ceremony, Xi Jinping's southern tour, and a stream of foreign guests visiting. But at the very moment when every camera angle and every protocol arrangement revolved around Xi Jinping, one person who should never be absent suddenly vanished from the frame. That person is Kai Chi, member of the CCP Politburo Standing Committee, Secretary of the Central Secretariat, and Director of the General Office of the Central Committee. And the other side of his mysterious disappearance leads to another man, Zhang Youxia, Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission. A man who shouldn't be absent disappeared starting on the 9th. Yao Cheng, a former PLA Navy lieutenant commander and staff officer, said something in his program in recent days. Kai Chi has been missing since the 9th, for more than a week now. For someone at his level, being absent for 3 to 5 days is already abnormal, let alone 9 days. How abnormal is that? In the CCP system, the director of the central office is effectively Xi Jinping's shadow. Wherever she goes, he must be there. He cannot be absent, unless he's under control. His movements are being restricted. Something has happened and he's been told to rest. Or he's already been handed over to another power center. The problem is, from the 9th to the 16th, what the outside world saw was this. On November 9th, Xi Jinping attended the opening of the National Games in Guangzhou. By convention, the Central Office Director must accompany him throughout. He did not appear. On November 12th, she met the King of Spain. At such a state occasion, Kai Chi should have been present. Again, he didn't show up. On November 14th, she met the King of Thailand, and Kai Chi was still nowhere to be seen. Xi Jinping continued to appear publicly one event after another, but Kai Chi repeatedly disappeared, not by Xi's side, and not anywhere else either. No explanation. No official statement. It feels like he's been deliberately erased. Strange, the National Games have nothing to do with the military, but Zhang Youxia went, Kai Chi didn't. On November 9th, the National Games in Guangzhou opened. This is a purely sports-related event. In theory, there is no need for Zhang Youxia to attend. The military doesn't need to send someone at the vice-chairman level of the Central Military Commission. When she attends, the director of the central office absolutely must follow. Yet what happened was, Zhang Youxia made a rare appearance, accompanying Xi throughout the event. He was even photographed side by side with Xi. But Kai Chi was strangely absent. Yao Cheng even speculated outright. Zhang Youxia is not someone who casually shows up in public. His trip to Guangzhou wasn't just to give Xi face, he went there to take Kai Chi away. Behind that remark is an even bigger speculation. Kai Chi has been placed under soft detention by the military. To pull this off, the military has to act, and Xi Jinping has to tacitly approve. Why did Zhang Youxia have to personally step in? Because he and Xi need each other. Recently, one issue has jammed up the political machine in Zhongnanhai: the expanded CMC meeting cannot be held. Without the CMC chairman, Xi, personally presiding, they cannot appoint a whole batch of commanders and political commissars for various branches and services. Right now, in the military, a large number of commanders and political commissars are serving in an acting capacity and don't know whether they will be formally confirmed. As acting leaders, none of them dares to make firm decisions or shoulder responsibility. The entire military is in a half-paralyzed state. In other words, Zhang Youxia needs Xi Jinping to step out and convene the meeting. But at the same time, Xi is stuck. He has already lost real control of the military, yet he still cannot give up the title of CMC chairman, because that plaque is his last shield for maintaining party and government power. So they are actually doing the same thing, mutually holding each other hostage, yet mutually needing each other. Zhang Youxia's recent bowing his head to show goodwill is not just empty talk. On November 3, as part of the Fourth Plenum's propaganda tour, Zhang Youxia began heavily praising Xi, stressing the need to deeply understand and implement Xi's important speeches and instructions, unify thinking and action, thoroughly apply Xi Jinping thought on strengthening the military, and advance the modernization of national defense and the armed forces. On November 13, he published an article in People's Daily mentioning Chairman Xi 20 times. Immediately afterward, he personally went to Guangzhou to attend the National Games, which only had military representatives participating, and took a group photo with Xi, a full sincerity show. Yao Qing judges that these moves are for a deal. Xi Jinping makes concessions, Zhang Youxia takes action. And the first target of that deal is Kai Chi. Why Kai Chi? Because Kai Chi is not an ordinary PSC member. He is Xi Jinping's chief steward inside Zongnanhai, the central hub for internal affairs, propaganda, and personnel in the compound. The final interpreter of all of Xi's instructions. Yao Qing also points out, as long as Kai Chi doesn't fall, Xi Jinping still has someone who can act on his behalf. From the military's point of view, if they are to push forward with the expanded CMC meeting and regain control of the chain of command, they must first remove Kai Chi. Zhang Youxia's purpose in personally going to Guangzhou is exactly this, to take Kai Chi away, isolate him, and place him within the military system. The military has plenty of locations for that, goose houses, bases, farms, all kinds of areas where local authorities can't get in, a kind of extra-legal zone where, metaphorically, you could even eat swan meat and never be sentenced. This kind of soft detention treatment won't be made public, won't be announced. He will simply be put in a resting state. The key is, all of this is happening with Xi Jinping's tacit consent. Because at this point, Xi cannot protect Kai Chi any longer. What does Kai Chi's 8-day disappearance mean? According to the logic of the CCP's black box politics, former Foreign Minister Qin Gang first went missing, and was removed 1 month later. Defense Minister Li Shangfu first went missing, and was double expelled 2 months later. Former CMC Vice Chairman He Weidong first disappeared, and half a year later was placed under investigation. Public Security Minister Wang Xiaohong first vanished, then a subordinate fell to his death, and Wang's power was hollowed out. Although Kai Chi's rank is much higher than Qin Gang's, his power much more substantive than Li Shangfu's, and his position far more critical than Wang Xiaohong's, he is walking along the same path, first absent, then in trouble. And this is happening at the very moment when the military's grip is being restored and Zhang Youxia is fully stepping onto the stage. Yao Qing sums it up. Most likely, Kai Chi is now being held somewhere under the control of the military in Guangdong. Once the expanded CMC meeting is over, they will decide his fate. In other words, Kai Chi is not sick, nor is he on vacation. He has been temporarily taken off the board. However, Chinese-Australian independent commentator Jiang Wang has a different theory about Kai Chi's disappearance. On November 16, he posted on X, Twitter, saying that, according to the administrative secretary to Zhao Ida, the party secretary of Shaanxi, Kai Chi should have been in Xi'an, Shaanxi province, from November 14 to 16, 2025. Zhao Ida supposedly gave the weekend off to the life and confidential secretaries he had brought from Zhejiang, and instead used local on-duty secretaries in Xi'an. Kai Chi's trip, according to this account, was to handle files related to cases under the Shaanxi Provincial Discipline Inspection Commission that involve materials connected to Xi Yuanping. From Beijing to the Ministry of Public Security, Wang Xiaohong's knife handle is being shaved away inch by inch. If Kai Chi is Xi's chief steward, then Wang Xiaohong is the sharpest, and most unsightly, knife in his hand. But starting from late 2024, this knife has been systematically shaved from the handle to the tip. What's being shaved off are his people, his positions, and his power. The Guangzhou National Games, his last normal appearance. In footage from November 9 at the opening ceremony of the 15th National Games in Guangzhou, we see several key shots. Xi Jinping, as usual, attends and waves from the rostrum. Zhang Youxia appears in a rare public showing, standing alongside him. Wang Xiaohong also appears, but this is his last public sighting so far. From November 9 to November 16, a full 7 days, Wang Xiaohong, Minister of Public Security, Secretary of the Central Secretariat, and Deputy Secretary of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, has not appeared in any official photos or footage. And this is not the first time. In mid-September, on the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Anti-Japanese War and the World Anti-Fascist War, he should have appeared at a major commemorative meeting, but he didn't. A whole row of leaders stood in the Great Hall of the People for a group photo. There should have been a spot for him, but it was quietly filled in. The Xinhua news agency write-up only had a line that said, "Comrade Wang Xiaohong and other leading comrades were present," but there was no trace of him in the images. Nobody publicly asked where did Minister Wang go, because in the CCP system, absence itself is a signal. It's not that he didn't want to come, it's that he couldn't come anymore. Commentator Jiang Feng described it vividly in his program. First, the man is still there, but the power is gone, and then, the man himself starts to appear only sporadically. To understand this power purge, the first measuring stick is the timeline. The time axis, his foundation, in Beijing was dug out first. If you want to bring down a public security minister, you don't take him out with one blow. You first cut away the people around him, one by one. That's called trimming the hem of the skirt. This trimming began as early as December 2024. 1. Changing the capital's police chief. His base in Beijing is uprooted. Wang Xiaohong spent 5 years as Beijing's police chief. His base camp was the capital's public security system. 2015 to 2020, he was director of the Beijing Municipal Public Security Bureau. Under him he had a capable subordinate, Qi Yanjun, originally a fire brigade commander under Wang in Hunan, later brought to Beijing and promoted step by step to executive deputy director of the Beijing Public Security Bureau. In April 2020, Qi Yanjun succeeded Wang Xiaohong and became director of the Beijing Public Security Bureau. This meant that the knife handle in Beijing remained firmly in Wang Xiaohong's hands. But by December 2024, things suddenly changed. Qi Yanjun stopped concurrently serving as vice mayor of Beijing and director of the Public Security Bureau. Those roles were taken over by Qin Yunbiao. So who is Qin Yunbiao? He comes from the criminal investigation system, has no blood ties to Wang Xiaohong, nor to the Fujian or Hunan networks. Outside observers generally believe he is closer to the system associated with former Public Security Minister Guo Shengkuan. The result, the Beijing police chief changed from one of his own to someone sent by others. For a public security minister, this is like having the floor pulled out from under your feet. Beijing is no longer your turf, but someone else's outpost. 2. The border, the money, and the chief administrator, the iron triangle, at the Ministry of Public Security is dismantled. After Beijing, the knife turned toward the headquarters of the Ministry of Public Security. April 2025, Vice Minister Su Ganlu, who was also head of the National Immigration Administration, was removed. He was an old subordinate from Fujian and was in charge of the border, who can go abroad, who is restricted from leaving. That's like cutting off one of Wang Xiaohong's hands that extended overseas. Within the ministry, Su Ganlu managed the border, Chen Siyuan managed day-to-day government operations, and Sun Maoli managed finances. These three formed Wang Xiaohong's iron triangle. Within 3 months, all three were replaced. In July 2025, Vice Ministers Chen Siyuan and Sun Maoli were both removed. Chen Siyuan, long time in the Beijing public security system, later entered the ministry and acted as the chief administrator, handling day-to-day affairs. Sun Maoli managed equipment and budgets, the money man in the system. In political language translated into plain words, it means, it's fine if you keep sitting there as minister, but what you say no longer counts. The death of Dong Yijuan, who gets to define the narrative? If trimming the hem was still just slow cutting, then the death of Dong Yijuan was a knife thrust straight into Wang Xiaohong's chest. On October 21, the second day of the fourth plenum, a shocking news item circulated inside Beijing's political, legal system. Dong Yijuan, deputy director of the Beijing Public Security Bureau and director of the Traffic Management Bureau, fell to his death. This name is crucial. From 2017 to 2021 he served as director of the General Office of the Beijing Public Security Bureau, essentially acting as Wang Xiaohong's chief of staff and general manager during Wang's later years in Beijing. Scheduling, documents, who he met, almost everything went through him. If the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection or a central task force wants to investigate Wang Xiaohong, the normal logic is, knock open the safe box that is Dong Yijun first. Yet suddenly, the man falls to his death. Even stranger, he died on October 21, but the official public notice wasn't released until November 15 to 25, full days in which the outside world knew nothing. And it wasn't the Ministry of Public Security that issued the November 15 notice, posthumously honoring him and labeling him an advanced example, but the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission. In other words, how did Dong Yijun die? How will it be characterized? Will his story be framed and promoted as an advanced deed? This is no longer for Wang Xiaohong to decide, it's for Chen Wenqing to decide. On the surface, it looks like giving him a faithful cadre label and a dignified coffin. But in terms of power politics, it sends an icy signal. He has already confessed everything. Not only will we not hold him accountable, we'll even give him a hero halo. The rest of you should think carefully, will you follow his example and cooperate, or sink together with Wang Xiaohong? This is not about protecting Wang Xiaohong, it's about dismantling his entire network and making them realign and choose a new master. Disappearing again, still in the chair, but already a lone commander. After more than a year of trimming the hem, by autumn 2025 the picture looked like this. On September 17, at the high-profile meeting commemorating the 80th anniversary of victory in the anti-Japanese war, Wang Xiaohong disappeared for the first time. Rumors said he had been brought in to assist an investigation or for talks. In October, he briefly resurfaced. He chaired a party committee meeting at the Ministry of Public Security, and then traveled to Guangdong, Shandong, and Jiangsu to promote the spirit of the Fourth Plenum. But the details are telling. In previous years, his promotions were done in the ministry auditorium, with public security cadres filling the seats. This time, he was sent to local meetings, facing provincial and municipal party secretaries who were not part of his system at all. This kind of venue switch is a form of demotion in the system. You still have the title, but you are no longer the center of the knife handle. On November 9, he attended the National Games in Guangzhou and stood by Xi Jinping's side. This became his last appearance in front of the cameras so far. After November 9, he, like Kai Chi, entered a synchronized missing period. The knife handle and the penholder disappeared from the frame at the same time. From the standpoint of the timeline, this is not an accidental coincidence, but a sequence of coordinated moves. First pull out Wang Xiaohong's foundation in Beijing. Then purge the Iron Triangle in the Ministry of Public Security. Then start with his chief of staff, seizing control over the narrative and characterization. Finally, leave Wang Xiaohong still sitting in the minister's chair, but unable to wield the knife at all. Jiang Feng called this a history of power decline, which sounds dramatic. But when you lay out the timeline, you find that this is not some ordinary anti-corruption campaign, it is a targeted, step-by-step power purge. Now, with Kai Chi's absence and Wang Xiaohong's renewed disappearance, the timelines line up very closely. On one side, the penholder is taken away. On the other, the knife handle is being stripped. The question of who is orchestrating things behind the scenes and who is reassembling power becomes the next chapter of this story, and the key foreshadowing for Beijing's political scene after the Fourth Plenum. When a chief steward at Xi Jinping's side and a knife-wielding public security minister fade from view at the same time, both in the public eye and in the power structure, this is no longer just about who has bad luck. It's about the entire power order being renumbered. The expanded CMC meeting's long delay, the long-term acting status of service branch chiefs, has forced Zhang Youxia to bow his head and show goodwill, and has forced Xi Jinping to make painful trade-offs between control of the military and control of the party. At the same time, the string of personnel changes in the political, legal and propaganda system suggests another possibility. Even if Xi Jinping appears to still be sitting in those three chairs on the surface, the floorboards under his feet have already been sawn through layer by layer. Will Kai Chi become the next Qin Gang? Will Wang Xiaohong follow in the footsteps of Zhou Yongkang? The answers may take time to emerge. But one thing is certain, after the fourth plenum, in Beijing, the real show has only just begun.